Despite the Iranian strike on Israel being a retaliatory one, the narrative in the United States is simply that it will do anything to help Israel defend itself. To this end, the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen confirmed that more sanctions will be put in place to stop Iran from posing a threat and further destabilizing the region. Now, the Iranian economy is under threat of becoming more isolated than ever before. Let's get more on this now with Luciano Zaccaro, who's an associate professor in Gulf politics at Qatar University. He joins us now from Doha. Really good to have you with us, Professor. We know that Iran is very used to Western sanctions by now. It's become very adept in basically dodging them in order to do business in other parts of the world. So what impact might more sanctions on Iran have on its leadership and its economy?
Well, so far the sanctions that affected the Iranian economy before and after the JCPOA, after the United States decided to pull out with Trump, it seems that they did not affect that much the development of the Iranian missile program. We remember that there were sanctions that they expired in October 2023. And since then, Iran has been able to accelerate the process of manufacturing missiles. It's very difficult to see that further sanctions on the Iran missile program will have an impact, at least an impact that may affect the Iranian military capacity in the short and mid-term.
Yes, and we know that Iran's oil sector continues to be quite lucrative for the country despite the sanctions that are already in place. Apparently, according to the latest figures, Iran has exported the most oil than it has in 6 years, and China has been its biggest customer. Do you think if new sanctions are imposed on the economy, will Iran simply just forge closer ties with friendly countries like China in order to make up for the business that it loses in the West?
It will depend on how other countries are abiding with these sanctions. I mean, before the signature of the JCPOA, Iran was under sanction and China was not abiding with the sanctions. But after the imposed sanction in 2018, Trump managed to impose its will, and therefore China reduced the import of oil. Moreover, after the COVID crisis, there was a period in which China was importing 0 barrels from Iran. And this, of course, affected the Iranian economy. Of course, Iran will try to find the way to export oil through informal or formal mechanisms that as they did before. I mean, there are many indicators that show that Iran has been able to channel the oil exports in not in the formal way, and therefore Iran did not stop their oil income revenues, even though there were tougher sanctions. So it depends on how other countries will react to that, if they will comply with the sanctions that the United States are imposing and the European Union are imposing, or if they consider that they are not necessarily binding to them to stop buying oil from Iran.
Okay, Luciano Zaccaro, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks as always for joining us on Money Talks.